All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Shoot and Stiff Wrestling Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm the international superstar, Chameleon Vinish. All right, I have a partner. I always introduce him, but I wanted to say something before we do this. Thank you for love and support for our podcast. We started our podcast last year around this time, so this is our first anniversary Shoot and Stiff Wrestling Podcast. So far, we have 830 plus. We have listeners from all over the world: Philippines, Germany, China, Pakistan, India, Japan, and England. So, from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of Shoot and Stiff Wrestling Podcast, thank you so much. So this is my co-host.
I don't know if this is gonna be a audio or a picture one. Is this gonna be on video? Because I feel like it's just audio. So there's no. Right now, I'm holding up a hand raised. Oh, we are doing video. Cause you confuse me. Sometimes I go all out, and then I'm like, "Oh, we got some audio podcast." So, and then I'm like, "Do I brain props or do I not brain props?"
When it's just you and me,
either way, I'm drinking.
Audio podcast because people don't want to see a lot of cursing from me. There you go, race energy. And this podcast is brought to you by AWWA Wrestling Presents Unpredictable on November 11th, and we have a special guest on this podcast. I got a chance to do a podcast with this guy, this guest, a couple of years ago. I think back in 2020, around the pandemic time period. But it's the first time we're doing a video podcast with C-Dub. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Rogue, Joshua Charles.
Thank you.
What makes you a rogue, man? Are you on the run? Like, what is it about you that makes you a rogue?
You're down there talking to me?
Like, I think so. I don't know if it's this way or that way.
You know your lesson. What's going on?
So, where did the Rogue name came from, brother?
Going against the grain, being myself, not conforming to what wrestling has become. Not doing the flips, gymnastic, rehearsals, spot after spot after spot after spot. No registering, so I decided to be a rogue and be what I grew up on, which is professional wrestling. More people, if they studied Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and they grew up on them, they might be a little bit better at their craft. And if you take offense to that, well, then it probably stands for you.
Yeah. I feel that. I like it. I like that.
Amen to that. Amen to Bret the Hitman Hart. Always did wrestling in a different style. So, did you ever got a chance to meet the best there is, best ever was, and best ever will be?
No, but this Saturday he's supposed to be in Ohio, and I'm hopefully going to go. Hopefully. Saturday, September 30th.
Nice. Was he doing a seminar or is it like fan fest or what?
Yeah, it's just a fan fest before a local show up there for Bobby Fulton. He's going to be signing autographs. They have like 25 past and some present wrestlers up there. I'm just going for Bret.
Is it in Chillicothe or Columbus?
I'm going to get my autograph. Huh?
Is it going to be in Chillicothe, Ohio?
Yep, that's exactly it.
Nice. Nice. That's I know the place.
So I got a question. What do you feel about what Road Dogg said about he was a better sports entertainer than Bret the Hitman Hart? But he did say he's not a better wrestler, but he said he's a better sports entertainer. Did you take that did that make you feel some type of way?
No, it's just business. I mean, everyone thinks someone's better than the other.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll never hear Bret Hart say he was better than someone. He'll say it in his catchphrase, but he'll never say that he was better than someone. He's always putting someone over him. But I mean, Road Dogg does it. I like Road Dogg.
It's like five. Yeah, it's like somebody who is 5'9" and 170 pounds, barely 200 pounds, telling everybody that I'm the best in the world. So it's the irony is everybody is like, okay, you're barely 6 feet tall and you're so skinny, you're less than 200 pounds. You're telling the world that you are best in the world. Everybody like he
grew up as Mama said he was.
What are you guys talking about?
Well, I was mentioning.
I think he's talking about me. I'm not no 5'9", mother. Mother.
Hey, I was talking about a skinny guy, 5'9", and
I think I got
goes
it.
by.
Oh yeah.
But anyway,
okay.
Yeah, but anyway, let's
Yeah,
go to
I'm not skinny.
Charles here from Washington D.C. and how it all started. And I've done this before with Josh Charles in an audio podcast, so this is very exciting. C-Dub. So tell us how it all started. When did you started training?
I'm actually from 45. I mean, Maryland's a very small state. DC's up there as the district, but I'm actually 45 minutes south of DC in Charles County, Maryland's where I'm from. But I mean, what cell phones had become a thing at that point. I called WWA 4 down in Atlanta. Talked to a guy named Frank Aldridge, who ran the school after he purchased the building and a lot from the power plant, and he kept a lot of the stuff there. The rings, like we still had a WCW canvas, the big blue one with the yellow bullseye stuff, and then we actually had a WCW ring over in the corner as well. That ring was stiff. And then that was in 2004. I saved up. I sold one of my cars, and I printed the directions off of MapQuest, and just
MapQuest.
Yeah, MapQuest. Back in the day when you didn't have GPS.
Holla MapQuest. Future sponsor.
It was MapQuest, and I had paper directions, and just hit the road, and that was it, man. Went down there, and at the time, WWA 4 had a program set up with a landlord who had a couple houses, and they were right next to each other. They each had 2 bedrooms, and in each bedroom, the landlord put 2 bunk beds. So there was 8 beds total in each house, and he basically just rented it to all the guys going to school to wrestle for $200 a month. So I paid 3 months up front. I paid the tuition for the school, which was $800, and you had to pay $50 a month. After that, I paid him $50. I gave him $100 for 2 extra months after that, and then I mean that's pretty much it. I paid all that up front right as soon as I got there, and I wasn't like a bunch of these people who think they're trained. And I mean, you want to call it shooting stiff? Let's just call the shit the way it is. I mean, I'm not like these guys who sit here and are trained, and all they do is learn how to run the ropes, and then they might take a bump or a couple bumps, and they might learn how to lock up the wrong way, and then they'll sit there and say that they're trained. You can't call spots, you can't run drills. Yeah, I mean, when we did the training, it was 5 days a week. My cat's trying to get in the camera. Let's get out of there, kitty. So we did it. It was 5 days a week. It was from 5 p.m. until I guess whenever they felt like leaving, which was usually 10 o'clock at night. And we would do jumping jacks, push-ups. We would do burpees. We would hit the ropes. And the first time learning how to hit the ropes, I mean, you couldn't lift your arm up, and you were all sore on your down here in your laterals and everything. And we hit the ropes. We would do ass bumps, face bumps, back bumps. And it was a drill every day like that. And that went on for months and months. And then eventually you would break off into doing more, learning to lock up. And we do chain. Every day it was the same routine: the workout, cardio, ropes, bumps, lockups, chain. And then we would get into arm drags. And then we'd get into hip tosses, learn all the basics, what's important. Later, then you learn spots and your, tackle drop downs and leapfrogs and etc. But some people don't call it drop downs; they call it step overs. It's a drop down. It's a drop down. Tell Terry Funk it's a step over. I'm sorry, I get heated up with people that or trying to change terminologies and we're not trained right. But that's the way it was, man. It was like you went to school, you paid for your training, you were trained the right way, and you learned how to do it. You didn't just get in there, hit the ropes. Oh, I'm going to play around with my friends and I'm going to do power bombs and I'm going to already have a match after 2 weeks of my so-called training. That's not the way it works. I did that for 5 months before my first match, and that was in a strip club because we had to deal with them in sometime down in Pinups in Georgia, and we had to have 65 matches before we could get paid. And when we did when we had to keep track of it, and we would wrestle 2-3 times a night at Pinups, and you would also referee other matches while you're there so you can learn as much as possible. And the ring was about that far off the ground, board on the ground. I mean, it would have felt better landed on concrete, and just getting beat up, just getting just terrible. You know what I mean? But it was a good learning experience, I think.
Magic City, here we come. AWWA in December. The Unwrap the Presents in Magic City.
I don't know if they're still there. And again, this is one of my favorite topic. When you were at WWE 4, did you got a chance to meet any WWE? But at this point, I think WWE and TNA were the only two major companies out there because there was no. I mean, of course, Ring of Honor. They were kind of like upcoming stage. But did any of the companies, wrestlers or stars, came by and did any interactions or seminar with WWE 4?
Yeah, there was all kinds of wrestlers that would, former WCW, WWF guys, they would just pop in. Like I remember New Jack started doing his training there with us because he was originally supposed to be part of the first one night stand that WWE produced. He was there doing spots with us, but then he had that incident where he stabbed that guy a few times, so they ixnayed it. But I mean, I can't remember everyone. There was just so many countless guys that would just show up, especially WCW guys who had trained there when it was the power plant. I could sit there and name names all night. It's a shame I don't have a picture of the wall. There used to be a wall, and when you walk in, there was Andre the Giant's chair to the left, which was like a fabricated bigger chair for him. And then to the right, above the office, there was all these pictures of all the former talents that came there and they signed and they had all their autographs.
So WWA 4 used to be the power plant of WCW, right?
Yeah. Well, their first location was in the CNN Center. And then when they moved out of sight, their TNA or WCW's headquarters was some building. And then the power plant moved to this building. So whenever you see like the old WCW VHSs, they had like DDP and Randy Savage, stuff like that. They do interviews in this building. I think they even did one Nitro where Eric Bischoff had to like go do something for him or something. And it's that building. It's the same building. Like the posters are on the walls of the pay-per-views and stuff, like Fall of Raw and stuff. So, I mean, it was all there, legitimate building. And then they ended up, I'm not sure if Frank leased the building or what happened, but then they divided it halfway. But that same corner in the building with the weight rooms was originally there when I joined in 2004. It was the same spot, the weights and the dumbbells and everything that were there when the old videos I've seen in WCW when they would have the interviews in the building or something. The same weight area was in the same location.
Man, what do you think they did with all that stuff? Hopped it on eBay or something?
Well, I mean, WWA 4 got sold to AR Fox and his mom a few years, way down the road. But I think whenever they sold the building or they leased it or they sold all the properties that were there, because I guess WWE just wanted to liquidate stuff, I guess that they just took the building with what was in it. That's the only thing I could think.
Do you remember any major star coming there, doing anything, or any interaction with anybody from WWE or any big stars or anything that you can think of?
I know what you're trying to get out of me. There's so many people, man. I mean, you can name who's who lived down there. I mean, of course, you'd have, Abdullah the Butcher would come in there. And the Japanese press would come in there. I mean, but you got to think, Atlanta. You had so many guys that were down there, like Scott Hall, Chris Benoit. I mean, just everyone lived down there. Scott Hall, Kid Cody came in there. You know, right when he had first started training. I didn't get to work with him or anything, but there's so many guys.
What was the experience with Chris Benoit in there? Was like what was it like? I think was he like the world champion, U.S. champion?
He wasn't the champion when I met him. He because he won the belt at 2004, and then he dropped it at SummerSlam that year. So no, he didn't have the title. When I met Chris down there in Atlanta, it was just a brief. Like I said, I think he was trying to scope out areas. I think he was trying to I don't know if he's trying to start up a school. That's what someone had said, but who knows if that's true, if he was scouting out locations or trying to figure things out. But it's hard to think what, you know.
I had a couple of years back when I first started doing the energy drinks at the wrestling shows. Some dude sent me a message wanting to get into training and was telling me he was basically Chris Benoit's working partner. Like he would go and train with him and let Chris Benoit wrestle him around.
What was his name?
It was some bald headed dude.
Was it Bruce Jones?
No. But yeah, he was like
I
can't remember his name. It was like
who you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about? All I know is he sent me a message, and I was like, "What's he?" I thought he was pulling my leg, man. I thought he was trying to get into some freaky stuff or something. He was like, "Yeah, I like getting tumbling around. I really miss training, just getting in."
Well, never mind.
It wasn't a Rick, dude. It wasn't a Rick guy, but he was
the guy that made Benoit's tights around there. I think his name is Rick Michaels. He made gear.
No, it wasn't him either. No, it was some bald headed dude, and he was just I don't know. I was kind of creeped out at it. I told D Money about it back then. D Money was laughing at me, talking about that guy's weird. That's all he told me. And I was like, man, I was like, I don't know what he was trying to do, but yeah, he told me he used to train with Chris Benoit and let Chris Benoit slap a bunch of.
I mean, you never know. I mean,
I don't know what he was trying to do. With me, though, I was like, I'm good.
Well, you know, let's come back here. Let's come back to the topic we were talking about. So, from WWA4, you started training and you started working matches. So, I'm sure, you know, you had all these guys right now. They're on their game, the best on top of their game. And I got a chance to watch your match with Jonathan Gresham from 2008. I think there's the videos out there on YouTube. You guys were killing it, man. Arm drags, technical wrestling. It's best. What was it like to do those wrestling moves at that time? Back in 2008, it was still a big man sport. You still haven't seen the gymnastics, the high flying moves much, but you guys were still doing chain. So take me to that time period when you guys wrestled a lot. Where you guys had any plans to go to Ring of Honor, Impact, TNA Wrestling, or of course the main stage WWE at that point of time?
Jonathan, he went by Jonathan Davis at that time. Like I said, we trained together. I've wrestled him. I couldn't tell you how many times. That one, I can't remember the guy's name, but at that time there was a guy who started doing the filming for us, and that's why that one's online. He was a good dude. He did ring announcing. I can't remember his name. I'm bad with names. That's my fault. But John, I mean, him and I, we don't really. It's kind of the same. I mean, you've worked with me, so it's kind of the same thing. I don't really like to. It shows your talent, your ability, your knowledge, and your ring awareness that you don't have to rehearse and plan it out. A1, A2, A3, B, A1, all the way to A to Z. Plan a match out. It shows your training that you can just get in there and work. Yeah, you want to be able to, if you have something cool or you want to make sure someone's comfortable with, or a hot spot. Of course, if you're told what I hate this kayfabe stuff. If you're told, what doing the finish or who's going over, but you have that.
It's all fine, bro. Listen, this is the thing. It's not strange. Even Undertaker talked about it on Joe Rogan's podcast. Hulk Hogan did it. Ric Flair did it. So everybody knows. It's like
saying, I think that it shows your
forget about the take home spot. Forget about the finisher, because obviously you one way or another. Even I got a chance to do a podcast with Rick Rogers, and Rick was talking about finishers too when he worked with Dick the Bruiser, Dick Murdoch or something, or Randy Savage. Like they just talk about the finish and they just work.
That's all you need.
One body part and through it. So anything that you do it, let's say if I'm doing Bray Wyatt, Sister Abigail, then you work towards that till the end. There's a thing that makes sense to complete that story. So the finisher should be the final nail in the coffin. You start the match and you're leading the match towards that finish.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying. No, I agree with that. Just kind of, I think kayfabe is what's lacking in wrestling now. But like I said, you worked with me, and if you're talking about that match, I don't remember anything about that match other than you want to ask a guy if he's comfortable with something. So like when me and you had just had a match a couple months ago. I mean, what did we talk about?
Yeah, we didn't really. So let's put it out there since we talked about that. We did not choreograph the match.
No, and that's the way it should be. And with Gresham and I, we are so comfortable with each other that we would just go out there, and we know that both of us love chain and love wrestling, so we would go out there and try to wrestle. And then you want the other guy to step it up, and you want him to throw in the little steps to push you so that you can outshine him and try and wrestle. And that's what it should be. You should go out and try and wrestle. And at that time, that was at the school. Well, we used to run the school every Thursday, and then we do pinups Thursday night, and then we do shows on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Because back then, Georgia used to be the place to be for wrestling, and so he was always having matches. But when Gresham and I did that match, I don't remember anything about it except I know I couldn't jump off the top rope, and I know I tried to do like a
because when I look back and watch, I even told I got a chance to train with him last year, I believe, at the underground underground fight factory, whatever it was. I got a chance to tell him, I got a chance to watch him out with Joshua Charles back in 2008, and he even told me, you guys never choreographed or talked anything. You guys just went there and did it on the fly, and that's something really missing out these days. So take me through, so what was your goal? Of course, everybody wanted to end up in WWE, but what was your goal when you saw matches?
You're breaking up a little bit, but I think I got you. Well, you said Ring of Honor, and you brought up Gresham. That was, I know you and I have talked about this before. That was his, that man. That was his dream. That was his goal was to get the Ring of Honor. He moved. He dropped his job. He moved to. He's still with Jordan. I mean, they've been married forever now, but they moved to Pennsylvania. He went to Ring of Honor. He did whatever he had to, paying dues, showing up, not getting used. Doing whatever he had to get on Ring of Honor until he did. Then he got their world title. So I mean, that was always that man's goal.
Cito.
Yeah, Gresham. I love missing Gresham. He's very underrated.
I think that he's pure in the ring. I think the best way to describe him. But mine's just to make some money, man. But I mean, it's hard to make money if you got to have the funds to go on the road, and then you got to have the funds to get there, and then you get there, then people don't want to help you, or they don't want to just depressing, and then so it's hard.
The support system, man, it helps out to have a support system. That's a lot.
Yeah,
that too. Yeah, yeah. create my own sponsor, pretty much.
Oh no! I'm talking like a female,
like a legit.
Did you ever
that
did
too.
any
Yeah,
tryouts
yeah.
You know what I mean?
TNA or Ring of Honor during that time period?
What's that?
Did you ever got a chance to do any tryout with a Ring of Honor or TNA at that point?
No, I remember I was going to go try up and do the Ring of Honor one time when they went to Baltimore. They had the dojo and Gresham. Actually, I was talking to him and he said for me to come out. And again, I had to work, so I was like, "Well, I'll try and come out there." And I said, "I don't know if I could do Ring of Honor style because at that point, that's when you had those flippy floppy guys." They completely changed pretty much what all Ring of Honor was. I mean, you had Gresham, Jay Lethal, who I thought were like wrestling, and there's a couple others. I'm not gonna sit here and name everyone, but again, that's just me just trying to that rogue thing. I mean, it's just a silly gimmick, but it's just trying to be away from it. I don't know.
You see that he's doing a grappling thing? Is it this month or next month? He's doing.
I'm not sure. I'd plug it if I knew it, but I'm not sure. I have seen it.
Yeah, he's doing something coming up here this month. One of this month. He should show up and challenge him. The reunion square.
Yeah, listen to him. Listen to him.
The reunion. Remember me. You just don't show up here when you want to. I'm the rogue.
So, tell me the stories, like about getting opportunities because Dexter, what's his name? Dexter Loomis, or something.
Yeah, Sam Shaw.
Slam Shaw. Yeah, I remember he made his debut in his shorts, a small John Cena version in Impact Wrestling TNA. I think around 2010, 2009. I think. I believe so. I might be wrong. And then he, of course, got a chance to do this with WWE. Then Heath Slater used to be Heath Miller, and Apollo Crews used to be Yuhan Nation. So now you have all these guys trained by Mr. Hughes for WWE 4, the real WWE 4. And why? That's another thing. Like, why you didn't really try with TNA? Even though Sam Show,
if I had the money to go there and I had the time, like if I had a date that I could go try, or if I had, it's like I can't just go, knock on the door, like, hey, I know someone there, get a match, but it's different. I didn't have the backing, so like I have to get off work, have the funds, drive down there, hang out, see if I can do something, drive back, get back to work. You know what I mean? And then and then if they say, hey, we can use you 2 days later, and I was like, well, I've already used all my money to travel down there. I don't have it. And then that also burns that bridge. So funding has been the biggest problem, other than ladies, with me, straight up. But I mean, like Sam Shaw, he was fortunate enough with his mom was always encouraging him and paying his way. I mean, got him a new truck. I remember that. He was in the Ford trucks, and so I remember she always helped him and funded him, and she was really nice. So he had that. And then when he lived in Florida, so he did I think it was like a year and a half with WWA 4, and then he had moved back to Florida. And then if I'm not mistaken, he paid for the Dudley School. And then I think that
Team 3D,
and I think that they brought him to TNA or Impact, and he was a security guard and extra work for like a year or two.
Yeah.
And he stayed around Jeff, and then Jeff Jarrett got him signed, and then he eventually had something. And then Jeff went to WWE, and then he brought him along. So that's how he got there. So, got to have that connection, man. That connection.
Did he ever do any drawings for you?
No, he didn't.
Oh.
So, growing up watching wrestling, I always wanted to be a champion. So, tell me, when did you have a chance to win your first title, and how it happened? Was it here in Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, it was in Georgia. It was, I think it was, I want to say
Benny.
it was for Rocky King, I think. I'm pretty sure it's for Rocky King.
Rocky
So
King.
I'm pretty sure when I used to work for him for years, I'm pretty sure it was a tag title for his thing. I'm almost positive. I don't really remember titles too much. I try to remember when there's a match that had something I like. I kind of don't really look at the titles like I guess I should or everyone else does. I'm just always worried about having a match that is something I could get recorded. I feel like getting it recorded is more rewarding than having a like a title, because to me, like I've got hundreds and hundreds of matches on the VHS when I used to record them a little camcorder. But then it was always hard to find someone that recorded at the show. And then there's so many shows where they didn't record it at all. So having them recorded is so important, I think, and that's also been a problem. And because I know I've had about my 5 top matches I can think of, 3 of them were not recorded by anyone at the shows.
I remember I worked a couple of shows. There were a couple of shows in Pennsylvania or Indiana. They never recorded anything, and I was like, I reached out to the promoter.
You do something magical, and then you're kicking yourself about
it. Yeah, I've been there, brother. So tell me from Georgia. When did you move to West Virginia?
Well, I lived in Maryland, and then I moved to Georgia in 2004. Then I moved back, and I stayed down there full time. I had the Wrestler House in East Point for I think a little over a year, and then I moved to Cobb County. The big boss man. I moved there in 2005, and then 2006 I moved to an apartment in Athens, Georgia, on campus, and then when that lease was up, I had met a girl in Ohio, and then that's when I moved to Ohio and lived with her. And then I stayed with her.
So you were like what? So you were like 2 hours away from downtown Atlanta when you were living in Athens, right?
Athens, yeah, it's about 2 hours away from Atlanta. But when I was in East Point, no, that's smack dab in the ghetto and right in Atlanta. So that was it. Yeah, that was in Cobb County. Was on the outskirts of Atlanta, but no, East Point. I was right there. I was about 15, 20 minutes from the school. But I mean,
how did you pay tuition fees, pay your bills, and everything at that time? What kind of jobs you did? How did you pay bills? How did you pay your tuitions and
everything? In Georgia?
Yeah.
Okay, so in Georgia, you pay $200 a month, and that covered all the bills, electric. My cell phone was on my mom's plan because I was just this little kid, and then that's it. And then you could work for Rocky King, but you were doing so many bookings that even if you made like, 15, $10, $20, you did about, literally between, 3 to 7 matches a week, including pinups, and pinups would pay you $100 a night. So you wanted to hurry up and get that 65 matches done. So you make $100 every Thursday. And then on the weekend, you could be making, anywhere from 30 to $100. What's that?
No, now these days, a lot of people thinking about moving to a different state here in Georgia, we have another big school. I don't really want to mention their name, but there's a lot of students comes from different states like Minneapolis or Alaska or New York, California. So their struggle is moving to a new location. How are they going to survive? And do they have to find a job, or if anyone's going to help? Back then, it was easy for you guys because you already had the sharing accommodation that provided by the school. I don't know if a lot of schools do that. So, what's the best advice for those young inspirational wrestlers that you can tell? Okay, if you want to go to a different state, so what's the way to survive and pay off the bills and everything?
Get a job. Get a job. Don't remember why you moved and what you're moving for is to do your training. You have to have a job to survive. Go down with a decent amount. See, because when I went, I paid everything, and then I still had about $3,000, which stretched a long ways in 2004. A long ways. So, and I was only eating like tuna every night, so I didn't eat nothing else. And but anyways, and back then you could get the pouches that were only like 40 cents. Now they're $1 something. But
son of a bitch.
But the getting a job, I think, is really important. But you got to accommodate everything. If you're going to, like, because I remember I had a job at Burger King in Georgia, and then that conflicted with training and going to the school. So then I had to like get something else because like I was like I can't come in at 5 o'clock and stay to 3 o'clock in the morning because
the King's
I don't get
jackass.
Yeah, you can't do shows on the weekend if that's also interfering. But you got to remember why you're there. And also, good advice would be go get trained by someone who's been somewhere. Don't go to Joe Blow's school, who's some fat guy wearing baggy shorts, who's never done shit in wrestling, and that claims to be a wrestler, and he claims that he can train you. So I think you should want to go somewhere, be trained by someone who's been somewhere.
So, Vanish, are you opening up your school next month or in January?
If everything goes well, we're still looking for a venue, so we might be able to open something in 2024. That's all I can say.
That's all you can say.
Yes, sir. We're still looking.
This is Shooting Stiff Wrestling Podcast, and that's all you can say is we're still looking.
Well, it's not about me or it's not about you. It is about the rogue Joshua Charles and his journey. We talked about him moving from Maryland to Georgia back in 2004, where he got a chance to meet a lot of wrestlers. He was training under Mr. Hughes. He was having a blast, having a great matches with these wrestlers. Then we talked about Ring of Honor getting an opportunity, almost getting an opportunity with Ring of Honor. Then living in Atlanta, Georgia, living in Athens, Georgia, the struggles, the hurdles, and tell me, like, at what point of time you kind of felt like, okay, if I'm going to do this, there should be like a reason, like I need to get to WWE or Impact Wrestling, TNA Wrestling, or Ring of Honor. I needed that motivation. What kept you going, and because you're still doing it?
I don't know. To be honest, man, I have a really self-image problem. I get depressed a lot of the time about that wrestling.
And
where I am.
Easy, let's say Jonathan Gresham got an opportunity to do Ring of Honor. Sam Shaw did DNA. Yuhan Nation, Heath Slater, Heath Miller already got signed with Deep South Wrestling right after WWE 4 training. Then he went to FCW Florida. Then plus from there, he did the Nexus NXT. You still have the contacts. You still friends with these guys. So why?
Let's Okay, so with Heath, I mean, I don't know. I just was talking to this about a friend of mine, like some of my best friends I met in wrestling, and one of them, his name's Michael Cook, and he grew up with Heath. They lived right down the street from each other. Heath's mom still lives there, and him and I had the conversation about how Heath forgot where he came from, how he just abandoned everyone, and I cannot tell you how many nights Heath would get shit-faced drunk. Him along with Brick and Michael and Randall and everyone else, and I'd have to go get them and shove them in my Camaro and then take them home and or drive their car, and it just but the Deep South, we all went down Deep South. I went down Deep South, the original Deep South that had WWE's ring, turnbuckle pads, the pay-per-view banners, Bill DeMont, Regal was there occasionally, Nick Patrick. I mean, they had their referees. I remember when what's his name? Ty Dillinger was down there. Jesse, Terry Gordy's kid. And I remember, what was the name of Luke Gallows? He was down there. He was doing some different gimmick with his girlfriend at the time. I guess they're married now, but anyway, they allowed anyone to do it, and then they would, if they liked you, they keep bringing you back, and then they would use you. And then I can't remember if it was me and Michael or Randall and I, whoever it was, and we came down there. And then the next week we came back because we were invited the next week to do our match at Deep South. And then we showed up the next week, and the doors were shut, and it was shut down. And so that, I mean, it was cool to be back there and see everyone. And Heath was down there, and Heath will tell you he was in the right place at the right time. He got along with some guys. They kept bringing him, to Raw and SmackDown, and et cetera, and doing extra work. And then he eventually got signed. I mean, the dude's tall. I always thought he had this Sting charisma personality, but no one ever got to see it unless you got to see him on the Indies when he first started. But Heath also, was a WCW guy. He wasn't a WWF guy. And I remember several times when I'd go down and hang out with him when he got hurt in FCW, and he would say that he wanted to quit and he wished they'd just fire him, and et cetera, et cetera. And, it's just,
this is before he had all those kids.
Yeah, before he finally got a good gimmick. The Nexus thing, he did that. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, me and him never really got. We were always cool. We almost got to fight a couple times, but I was never one of his close friends, I guess you could say. But now, according to them, he's abandoned them too. But he, it'd be nice if he'd reach out to me. I've messaged him a couple times throughout the past couple of years, but he doesn't answer me. But then if I see him in face, I know he'll have that big ass smile and he'll be all friendly and everything. I'm like, where you been, superstar? But but for real though, but he, I don't know, man. He's a good dude. He loves kids. He's great with his kids. I know that, even though I've never met him. I know he's always had a big heart.
First thing he ever said to me when I met him, he said, "Oh man, all right, hey man, what's your name?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'm huge friends with Dilip, Great Khali, and I love Jinder Mahal." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, I get it." But yeah. Did you ever get a chance to? Yeah. What was that?
Oh no, nothing. I was just gonna say. He kind of. Like a lot of things he says, I can see why that what you're saying. I get it, but I really he's kind of simple-minded. And he'll tell you that. I don't think that he meant anything by it. He's just kind of I don't know, man.
It was interesting.
Like I said, him and I didn't get along because I don't smoke weed. I ain't never smoked weed. I was never one of his pop buddies, and he's a constant pot. So and I didn't drink. Like I said, all the guys went out and drank. I didn't. Even Randall wanted to chill with me sometimes because he didn't drink, and we were underage too. But I wasn't a pot friend, you know what I mean? So I was never going to click with them.
Did you ever got a chance to do anything or meet the Omega Man, Kenny Omega, when you were in Georgia at that time? I think he got a chance to wrestle with Heath in Deep South.
He was at Deep South. Yeah, he was at Deep South. Yeah. Yeah, I shook his hand. I don't know the guy. There's so many guys that were down there, man. I probably wouldn't even remember who all was down there. There were so many. Ziggler was down there at the time. I can't remember what he went by. There were so many people down there. Maybe that's what I don't remember their names. I remember the entrance had like this black curtain, steep black ramp off in the corner. It aired on local syndication in Georgia.
Yeah.
I can't remember who all was there. I know they had the blue ropes.
Yeah, so you got the so I didn't never get a chance to meet Nick's dad, Jody. He had
Jody
passed.
Hamilton.
Yeah, he but did you get a chance to have any sit downs with him and like just pick his brain?
With the assassin?
Yeah.
No, I did not. I didn't meet Jody. Jody wasn't anywhere around when I was down there. I didn't meet the assassin. Met Nick Patrick. Didn't meet his father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the coolest guy with a lot of knowledge, that's for sure. I was talking to C-Dub on our last podcast. Jesus, when you look into the wrestling's history, his name is right there among a lot of main events for WCW to WWE. Let's go back, and then you moved to Ohio, and at this time, how many years you've been wrestling, and how many states you got a chance to wrestle, and what was your favorite matches and opponents
at that time?
Yeah,
up to that point, 2007. I don't think I probably had a. There was one match I had. I just remember that there was so many headlock takeovers, and there was about every type of headlock you can think of. I got to get that uploaded. I don't remember much about it except for that. I just remember it was wrestling, and I remember I either went to suplex the guy or he blocked it, suplexed on the basketball court, and knocked it and wind at me. But I think that was probably my favorite match up to that point, or maybe one of the dozens of ladder matches. But at that point, that's about 3 years in of nonstop, or 2004, 5, 6, 7. I guess about 3.5 years nonstop. And then at that point, I think I'd wrestled in probably at 2007. I probably wrestled in 8 states at that point, 8 or 7 states.
Wow.
At that point.
See up.
Man, I ain't even been but the 3 states, man. I ain't even been but 3 states, man.
You've only been in 3 states.
Yeah, man. I live a boring life. Vanish won't buy me no plane tickets and take me to these trips. He be taking these little dudes on. He be taking these dudes on trips and having them wrestle.
Well, you got to talk to Gary Marshall. He's the money man.
Yeah, Gary Marshall handles the funding.
Come on, Gary Marshall. He was under attack earlier, apparently.
Oh wow!
Well, yeah, he had a thumbtack above the wall, and he was under it. You didn't see it post? He was under attack. I mean, he said it was pretty funny. I give him that. But if you ever sit that guy next to me on commentary again,
what, me?
No, not you. Oh. Gary. Oh. Gary, he kept trying to touch my kneecap.
So you had all these experiences this time. 2007, you moved to Ohio, and I don't know when you got a chance to work with promotions like IWA, and of course we talk about Ohio. There's plenty of promotions in Ohio at that time. And what was it like to work with a lot of different promotions? And then tell me the politics, backstabbing, and of course, this is a Shoot and Stiff Wrestling podcast. Did you experience a lot of shoot and stiff in the ring as well in those states, Ohio, West Virginia, and all those areas?
Well, up to that point, I only you got to remember too, I was only wrestling 3.5 years at that point. So, and this was late 2007. By the time I moved to Ohio, it might have been around winter. So it was at the end of the year. Maybe it might have been October, but whatever it was. C-Dub's gone. Oh, he's back. I didn't. When I first started, there was Rocky King or Mr. Hughes or whoever. When you would do matches with them, and they would, they would stiff you. They'd rough you up, but shut the hell up and take it and shake their hand afterwards. And I did every time. And, but Hughes is so light in the ring, but the Rocky would also try and, he would try and toughen you up and teach you something. Cause you know what I mean? Cause then, being young and fucking stupid and being, just very green, which there's a lot of people now who call themselves pro wrestlers, but they can't get over their head about fucking doing a job, and that's a shoot. And but I mean, Rocky would tell me it doesn't matter because I remember being young and being so stupid that I was like, I don't understand why I keep losing. And then Rocky would just say, he was right. He's basically saying I don't get it, and I didn't get it, so I kept doing the job. And but I still was cordial afterwards. And then eventually one time I remember with Rocky, it was probably like the 5th time I'd wrestled him, maybe more than that. I remember he would call. I hate breaking kayfabe, but he would call spots, unlike these so-called pro wrestlers who are trained supposedly, but they can't call spots. That's a shoot. And then he would, so he'd have me in a headlock, right? And then he would say, tackle, drop down, backdrop. Okay. So I'm taking the tackle, I'm doing the drop down, I'm getting ready to backdrop him. And what does he do? He kicks me right in the face. So I go down. And then he says, fight back, John, fight back. And then he tells me to shoot him off the ropes. And then he says, give him a clothesline. So then when he comes off the ropes, I'm going to give him a clothesline. And he just waffles me and takes my head off with the clothesline. My lips fucking busted. My nose is busted. And I'm still selling, working with him. He's not being, this is what some people don't understand. When you grab a guy by a hair, you don't fucking pull their hair to work. If you're gonna really pull my hair, you might as well really punch me. And then so he picks me up. And then he says, I can't remember what he called. That's probably DDT or something. But I remember he said small package. So I small packaged him and he held on to me. And then I got a 3 count. I just, looked around. I just got the hell out of the ring. So he put me over. You know what I mean? Because I didn't complain. He beat me up. I learned my lesson. And then he put me over, which I always thought was just a great thing. And it's a shame he died. But
let me ask you this.
If talking about experiences about being stiff at that point, that's one I can share.
Wrestling was different back then. How many repeated moves you seen there? Because now these days, spear, everybody does spear. Everybody does the Claymore. What was that? Canadian Destroyer and all that. Back then,
cutters,
was there
man,
any repeated spots there?
What did you say? I didn't hear your last part, Benish.
So how many repeated spots or moves you see back then? Was everybody does a choke slam? Everybody does a power bombs?
I remember this one big fat guy. He was a thief. He stole stuff from all of us and he lied about it. I'm not going to mention his name. But I remember he went to give this other just greased ball that we call the oily shit, and he would give him a pile driver. And I remember the guy's name was Doyle, the skinny guy we called the oily shit. And I remember he didn't want to take a pile driver, and I'll mention the big guy's name anyways. Diggum. He was like, I mean, the guy was probably legitimately, close to 400 pounds. And he just picked up, this 6'3", 180-pound guy and gave him a pile driver. And when he gave him a pile driver, Diggum's dentures just went flying out. Everyone's just cracking up. But anyways, that's just like bringing that up. But mentioning the spots in the ring, like when we got trained, like we didn't worry about getting our shit in. We didn't worry about our moves. Like I didn't develop a move set for a long time after that because every match we all did, drop downs, leapfrogs. We all were doing tackles. We all chained. We all did hip tosses, arm drags. We all did, or drop kicks, or baby faces did. We all were doing the same basic wrestling, and that's what you needed. Then at the end, we could try and worry about coming up with a move. But that's pretty much all of our matches. No one was doing spears. No one was doing Canadian Destroyers. No one was doing cutters. I'm saying for the first probably year and a half, everyone was set on doing wrestling. I mean, you did every match, it was like you saw hip toss, you saw a spot, you saw arm drags, you saw chain, and it was to work on your fundamentals. But I didn't see very much of this stuff.
I find this probably what nowadays what lacks is it's not like it was back then where you're only getting weekend shows to wrestle. You, if you're lucky and you're a busy guy that gets bookings a lot, you get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But other than that, you may get to only wrestle once or twice a month, or three times. Back then, you get to wrestle all the time, and it had got and guys that had those opportunities to wrestle a lot of all the time in the indies or whatever. You saw them benefit more and pick up when they got called up or got opportunities. Now you got these guys that are not able to do that as much, and they're not going to these high ended academies or whatever. So they don't have that connection to where they can be extras and be called upon for spots. So then it's a lot harder for them. But you still got to respect the fact that the ones that are doing it every weekend are constantly getting 2 to 3 bookings a weekend. You just hurt though. It kind of sucks that you like, man, if he would ever get the opportunity, but I mean, it's on them to be able to find a way to take that extra step though. Like, but not all of them have that capability to go to some kind of factory, and get that little elbow rub to where they like, hey, I got this guy down here, come check him out. But I feel like if there was a chance for one of these promotions to get on a streaming service and actually have good shows on a constant basis put on where it showcase their ability, that there's a way for them to get seen.
Yeah. If something like that could come along, I mean, that would be good. But it's all about connections, and if you have the funds, or if you have, a parent or guardian that could help you, or a family member that could help you. But
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, like the love for wrestling, how like say guys like us that we had growing up isn't the same kind of love that people nowadays have for the modern wrestling, because they look at it and it's like it's nothing like it was. But if you can somehow dial it into that how it used to be, I could see people taking a chance and saying, "Hey, if we can get it back to how it was, or even close to it, some kind of something, I'll back that or whatever." But this new stuff where there's no storytelling, it's just a spot fest, choreographed fight scene. You might as well go to the movie theaters and watch one of the Fast and Furious movies or John Wick or whatever. But at least those movies have storylines to it. But anyway, yeah, I rambled. I rambled.
It's all turned into theatrics and gymnastics. That's all it's turned into, and that's like it's a matter of time for someone gets hurt, and then they're they're hurting themselves every week.
Like what happened last week or the week before when old buddy got that move put on him and hit his head, and then they was supposed to count it. They should have counted to 3 and he didn't, and then he did it again. Now he's in concussion protocol. We're talking about the Moxley.
I don't know, man. I have a hard time watching TV product. To be honest, I can't really. It's not
like so I was having a conversation with. Yeah, I was having a conversation with a fan earlier, and he telling me how great boxes this and that. I was like, okay. So the one thing that I hate is having an argument with a fan. They don't understand. They just believe everything what they see it online, social media, and it's. No, I'm not shooting on AEW. I'm just like in general. I'm just saying, in locker rooms in any wrestling promotions, it just kind of like a weird build up now these days. The so-called superstars attitude, and I see people want to put others over the way it asked. When I was in Indiana, I remember I was working with this guy. The promoter said we need going over stronger. And obviously, he wanted me to give him a schoolboy, grab the tights, and 1, 2, 3. And how that's me going over stronger. And of course, because the guy didn't really want to do his job. Professional wrestler. The term professional means you are a professional, just like a plumber, just like a boxer, just like a worker, any other worker. If you call yourself professional wrestler and you're asked to do a job, then you should do a job without any hesitation. Now, 2007, you're in Ohio, and all these years you've been working with different promotions. How many times you have these problems in locker rooms where, let's say, you're going over, Josh is going over strong, and the promoter or the booker says, "Okay, this is the finish, and this is how I need the match to be." Then your opponent comes and tells you, "Hey, how about we do this?" How about your opponent comes in and changes everything, even the finishers, and even try to change the storylines. How many times it happened with you?
Okay, so you're talking about egos, basically.
Yes.
Okay, so I can tell you when, like, I wanted to be a heel because I thought that was cool, and then I realized that it's harder to be a babyface. That's why I enjoy being a babyface. It's harder. People don't know you. It's a lot harder to make them like you and to get behind you than it is to make them hate you. I mean, that does not take that much effort or talent. But I can tell you straight up. But my thing too, like, we'd go to North Carolina and we'd be wrestling like 3 different feds. You know what I mean? And then we'd do one, and then we wouldn't come back for like a couple weeks. Then we'd do that one. We'd skip and do another one. There was 3 feds in South Carolina we were doing every weekend, and then there was there were so many shows in Georgia. So like my problem was I didn't stay committed to a company weekly. I would always go to the next show, and I would always come back like every other week or every 2 weeks. So I didn't have a name stay to be able to have a title or something. But I was too worried about doing different locations. That's always what I wanted to do. And when I started, I was a heel. So my job was to make them not only hate me, but my job was to make them cheer when the babyface gets the win. So I knew as a heel, my job was to put the other guy over. Especially, we're not on TV. No one knows who the fuck we are. Your job is to make them understand who you are and to cheer and boo the right accommodations and to get a reaction from them. So that's what I did. So I didn't really have any victories for years. I mean, my job was a heel. I didn't look at it as I come home and then like my friends would be like, "Oh, you don't ever win a match." I was like, "I'm a bad guy," but they didn't get it. But back then, to answer your question, and this ties into it, is I didn't ever try and change a finish or add stuff. It was never anything like that. I wasn't trying to worry about, I got to get 70% of the match. None of that pissing and moaning like you see now. I never experienced anyone trying to change a finish, trying to recall the match or get something extra in, or want to do a different finish. I can't recall that ever happening anywhere until probably it may have, and I wasn't involved in the match, but me personally, I don't recall that ever happening until probably around 2010. And whatever happened between 2004 2010 with people coming up and training or getting into business, whatever happened or what they grew up watching or whatever happened somewhere around in 2010, you started finding people, well, it would make sense, I'm from here. Or you would find people, well, maybe you shouldn't win with your finisher. I was like, it doesn't have to be a finisher. It doesn't matter. The point is to get the practice. You don't hear a dentist saying, "Oh yeah, I finished my training 15 years ago," like some stupid nerd. No, they say I've been practicing for 15 years. And that's what it is. You're practicing to perfect your craft. And that's what these people don't understand. Like, I work with all kinds of green assholes, and they say that, "Oh, I finished my training 7 years ago." Like, well, you didn't finish your training. You're still training. And they don't even know how to do anything. And that's straight up. And then they try and tell people what they need to fix. And it's like, but all right, I'm getting off track. But I never experienced any of that until, I'm going to say, around 2010 is when I started seeing stuff like that happen on local shows all over the place. I never experienced any type of politics or crap like that. I don't remember anything like that. We'd always flip a coin. Promoter would tell you, you'd flip a coin or you paper, rock, scissors, shoot. I mean, that's It was never really an argument. Never experienced it.
It's Dixie Carter's fault.
I don't know, man. I think it's these. I really don't know what it is. I think the X Division is responsible for half of the death of wrestling. I do think that.
Yeah.
Even though I enjoy watching it, but I wouldn't want to do it.
every week it was the gymnastic moves, and plus someone I think a couple of months ago or maybe last year, someone, I don't want to say who it was, someone said about Chris Benoit. If Chris was still alive, he wouldn't be able to hang the modern wrestlers now. He wouldn't be able to remember all the spots. And first of all, when I heard that, I was like, well, it's not about remembering the spots. And Rene Dupree was telling me this too. Like, Chris, all you got to tell him is the finish. And it doesn't matter 10, 20, 30 minutes, even he can do a fucking Ironman match with you. That's how he was. It doesn't matter if anyone says that he had the 85-year-old, 84-year-old a man's brain, whatever. He was the man when it comes to the ring and when it comes to wrestling. And the business is changing so much in all these years. Now it's more like how deadly of fly stuff you can do now these days. I remember this one dude, he dressed up like Jeff Hardy and he changed his hair color and everything like Jeff Hardy. He did 450 splash from the turnbuckle to outside, and he landed pretty badly on the table. He slammed his face on the floor, and I heard that his face got paralyzed. But he was trying to do that to get viral, get popular.
Oh yeah.
So that he could get one of those opportunities in AEW or whatever the other company is. So you always believed in technicality, storytelling, and everything. And looking at you, like you even been a part of how do I say, Wrestling Revolution too, from 2004. You've been in the ring, you've been training with Gresham and so many other guys. Then you got a chance to wrestle with trained, non-trained guys from Ohio, West Virginia area, and I got a chance to work with you back in IWA. I think in 2018. One of the oldest,
17 or 16, wasn't it?
Something like that. 2016, I believe. Yeah, back in Chillicothe, Ohio, Family Fun Center, and again, at that time, IWA was one of the oldest promotion in Ohio. I think Bull Miller started back in the 70s or 80s, whatever. Why do you think independent professional wrestling is not growing like it used to be? Like let's say Georgia Championship Wrestling. Of course, we have another Georgia Championship Wrestling right now, but I'm talking about back in the days. Some of these territories, some of these like Memphis Wrestling, it used to be big. Why do you think it's not getting back where it was? What's the weak link, or from your perspective as a wrestler, what do you think it's not happening?
You're not going to like my answer, but I'll tell you. I think it's podcasts and overexposure. I think business is overexposed. I think that, that's not directed at someone, but I'm just saying, I really think that it's overexposed. I think that, it's just everything. You see them do these vignettes where they're talking backstage and they're hugging and talking about the match, or they're thanking each other on Twitter or whatever it's called, and Twatter, and then they're it's
X now.
Oh yeah, it's X now. Yeah, it's X. Yeah,
it's X.
X gonna give it to you.
But exactly. But I'm just saying, like, it just seems like no one's I don't know. I just like no one no one believes in kayfabe. I mean, this is the most I've ever talked about
And the storytelling too, I believe that's a very important fact. Like if you have no charisma, if you have no talent, if you just only do these flips and gymnastics, and if you're not connecting to the fans, and I mean, it doesn't matter you do 100 different moonsault and 100 different moves if you have no connection with the fans, and there's no point of doing that. At the end of the day, it's just you're